Guys, you know what time it is. All right, guys, welcome to Eyes Wide Open podcast. I'm here in the solo studio today. I'm going to break down what happened during Iowa State. There was a lot of wrestling going on during the weekend, and all you guys are wrestling fans do know that Gable Stevenson is back, and he just came out the gate with two big victories. He actually picking up right where he left off, taking somebody that's in the top 10. That's pretty intense. Let's look at what happened with Iowa State. Now, for the record, me and Coach Panuch, we went over our picks, and I believe somebody checked me. I got the score to be 19-15, right? 19 Iowa, 15 Iowa State, right? That's correct. Um, the score came out 21-15. So I was pretty close. I was pretty close. However, some of my picks were off because Iowa did a little shakeup with their lineup. They threw in some guys, some freshmen. They mixed some things up. As Coach Brandt said, you got to shake it up sometimes. You got to mix it up. So let's go over where I went and where what happened in the match. So the first match was Adrian. They pulled out Adrian Mesa, which is a true freshman, Iowa State. Iowa State's Adrian Mesa came out against Cale Peterson. I had that pick as either Adrian Mesa or Kyson Terrakina, which is kind of a funny story because I'm watching the match the whole time, and on TV on Big Ten Plus, they kept on saying Kyson Terrakina, and I was looking at that kid and I'm like, that's not Kyson Terrakina. I was like, maybe I'm losing my mind. And then maybe about I think halfway during the match, the broadcasters apologized and said, "Oh, we apologize. It actually wasn't Kyson Terrakina. It was Adrian Mesa the whole time." But Adrian Mesa did get the victory, and I had to pick as Adrian Mesa or Kyson Terrakina both winning against Cale Peterson. Cale Peterson is tough, but the problem is he's coming off an injury. It's going to take a while for him to really get into it. So I anticipate that later on during the season, towards when it gets closer, I think he's going to peak at the right time. I think he's going to peak around Big Tens, which is going to be good for Iowa. But Mesa got it 5-1. It was a hard fought match, but Mesa's a tough kid. Now, this is one I picked wrong. And I even said, I hope Drake Ayala proves me wrong. And he did. He came out looking good. I picked against Drake Ayala. I picked Evan Frost to win by decision, but Drake Ayala won by decision, 11-7. And I believe he had three takedowns during the match. Three takedowns, which is, Ayala, his last match, he wasn't finishing his takedowns. He was getting in there and getting into scrambles. He's not really a scramble guy. He's a high volume shooter. Once he gets in there, he finishes. If he finishes fast, he gets the job done. So good job to Drake. That was a nice performance. Now next one, I actually picked this one. Let me double check that. I picked Ryder Block to beat Zach Redding. Right? Is that what I had? Yeah, I had picked Ryder Block to beat Zach Redding, but Zach Redding's tough. He's been around a long time, and it was a hard match. I feel like Ryder Block wasn't really attacking as much as it should be, and Zach Redding ended up getting the decision over him. 5-4 is a close match. Um, but I give respect to Zach Redding. He's ready. He's looking good. Okay, 149 was a very weird match. Now, technically, I don't think my pick was wrong here because I knew Echemandia. He looked really strong, and once he had Parco in that body lock. It was he sent him flying, feet to back. Luckily, Parco's tough. He was able to go to his stomach, get an escape. It was a very strange match, though. That was the only takedown the entire match where Echemandia got one takedown. Parco got an escape. Then second period, I believe it was either second period with Parco pick bottom, or see, I'm not really sure. It's either Parco pick down or Echemendia, when it was his choice, he picked neutral. So Parko goes down. Parko gets another point. But what happens, Echemendia locks his hands. So he gets a lock hand point. Then Tom Brands throws in a brick. But they already gave Parko the point for locking hands. So there's a lot of confusion on the mat. So what Tom was looking at was not the locking hands. He wanted the lock hands point, but Echemendia did an illegal mat return. When you're returning somebody to the mat, both feet can't leave the ground at the same time. So Echemendia jumps in the air and does a little back trip. And in the video, you can see he's both feet are in the air. So actually, Parko earns 2 penalty points off of that, and he gets an escape. So now we are looking at Parko with 2 escapes, 2 penalty points, and Echemendia with only the takedown, the 3 point takedown. So Parko's winning 4-3. Third period, nothing else happens, and Parker just holds on for the victory. That was it. I had picked Echemendia to win. I thought that he was going to be too strong for Parko. I wasn't too confident on this pick, but looking at it, it's a close match. I actually thought that Echmendia was gonna really push him around more than it happened, but Parko looked strong out there too. Parko looked very physical, so I was kind of impressed with Parko there, and I felt like he kind of took his feet off the gas a little bit though when he saw that he had the victory. Which I mean, smart if you're gonna try to win the duel. Why force for a takedown? Try to put a stamp on it when you could risk a big strong guy like Echmendia. But strange match. Okay, now let's move on to 157. Another weird thing happened here. So we had Panero Johnson came out. Panero looked good, looked strong. Ja'Cory Timur, I mean, he always comes over looking like he's bored to be out there, and then all of a sudden you blink and he's in on your legs. He's taking you down. I mean, the guy's just explosive. He gets in there. So at one point, Panero shoots in, gets a leg up, couldn't finish on T. Teamer's hard to finish on. Teamer's he's a counter expert. Panero's doing something with the leg. He's got it up in the air, whatever. Teamer kicks out of it and looks like he hurts his hamstring. And this was a very strange occurrence because he was hopping around like he had popped a hamstring. I'm still not sure what happened. I didn't look into what happened there, but he tried to wrestle first. Panero, because of the injury time, the other guy gets his choice. Panero picks down. Panero goes down. Teamer tries to cover, and he couldn't actually even squat down. So he had to give an optional start and let Panero go. Panero's winning 1-0. Teamer tries to sit back on that leg a little bit, try to stretch it out, try to move it. Wasn't working out. Panero got a takedown, and he was just gone. And Tom decided, you know what, it's not worth it. Pull him off the mat. So they give up 6 points for injury default. So that's going to be something to look out for later on in the season because I'm a big Teamer fan. I was big on him. I went to Arizona State University, and Teamer used to wrestle at Arizona State. But I was a fan of the kid ever since he was in high school. I liked his wrestling style. He had just this, like I said, he looks like he's just hanging out, and before you know it, he's on your legs, taking you down, pinning you. I mean, the guy's really explosive. I hope he comes back. He'll probably be out for the next few matches. Maybe he's got Christmas to hang out. They have a couple matches coming up. He probably sit out. I don't think they really need him for these next coming up matches. But when they're going up against Nebraska and Penn State and all that, they're going to need Teamer. I hope it's not a season-ending injury. So, I mean, uh, some words out there for Teamer. Hopefully, he comes back strong. Now we move on to 165. This was a tough one. Connor Uten he's a real deal. He put a I mean, Michael Caliendo had to work real hard for Uden. I had Caliendo winning this match. Well, the last one I had Teamer winning by decision because I thought he was gonna have a tough time beating Panero anyway. This one I have Mikey Caliendo winning by major because I thought he was just going to run through Uden. I was proven wrong. Uden is tough. Uden actually had the first takedown. I mean, and Caliendo was shooting. He could not, like, Uden's got hips for days. He was crushing them. But Caliendo kept on, kept at it. Caliendo's got a gas tank. The guy never stops wrestling. He wrestles 7 minutes. He could probably wrestle another 7 minutes afterwards. He's incredible. But he ends up getting the decision over Uden, which was surprising to me. I thought he was going to major him. I was going to say Tech, but 12-7, not bad. He pulled it off. Tough match. It's kind of tough sometimes when you're the high ranked guy and you go up against somebody that you're you're not sure like who is this guy. He's got no name behind him. Nobody really knows who he is. So all the pressure's on you, and you go in there, and the match is not as easy as you think it's going to be. So that's what happened to Caliendo. But of course, I mean, the guy's a warrior. He pulled out. Next at 174, a surprise. I kind of call this one. I said if Iowa needed points, Nelson Brands is good. He's tough to score on, but he's not a high volume scoring guy. He's going to beat Aiden Riggins, but he probably beat him by decision. They needed points. So they bring out Patrick Kennedy. Patrick Kennedy is kind of like Caliendo, never stops shooting, never stops attacking, and he put the beating on Aiden Riggins. Got the tech fall, 19-4. And I call this. I had it as a major. I didn't have it as a tech fall, but I figured they were going to pull out because I put Patrick or Nelson Brands. I figured they were going to pull out Patrick Kennedy if they needed the extra points, and because of what happened with Jacory, they needed some extra points there. All right, so then we move on to 184. Another surprise. We had Angelo Ferrari go out against a giant hulking Evan Bachman. Um, I don't know when this call was made, and I was gonna think, okay, Ferrari, freshman, true freshman, against Bachman looks like the Hulk out there, and Ferrari actually looked like he was muscling Bachman around. Shoots in first, gets in a high crotch, lifts Bachman up, puts him down. I mean, Ferrari just look amazing. I mean, you have to go back and watch a match. It's on YouTube. You can go back and watch a match. I think they have selected match of Ferrari's one of them. It was surprising, and I couldn't believe the beating he put on Bachman. Bachman had nothing, couldn't not a single takedown. The final score kept on. It was 8-2, but I think Ferrari could have probably finished a couple more shots in there. But and he even said in the interview that he wasn't too impressed with his performance. So when Ferrari's, I don't know, I don't think he's going to wrestle this year. I think he's still going to redshirt. But I mean, look out for this guy. I mean, Angelo Ferrari's he's a real deal. He's probably going to be, I don't want to call it too early, but he could be a four timer. Could be a four timer. All right. So now we got 197. This was expected. I believe I called this one exactly where it was. Steve Buchanan, Christian Carroll, major decision. All right. I was surprised Carroll wasn't able to get any takedowns with Buchanan, though. I mean, Buchanan's the number one ranked guy for a reason. The guys look solid all season. Um, well, it's early in the season, but he's looked solid. But I thought Christian Carroll at least pull off one takedown early on. I thought he was going to. My assessment was young guy is going to get tired. Buchanan's going to wear him out, end up beating him towards the end. But Buchanan beat him from the time the whistle blew till the end of the match. Carroll had nothing on him. Score was 10-0. All Carroll could really do is kind of like use his strength to survive on the bottom. So, but Christian Carroll, I mean, the ceiling is he's still young. He's a redshirt freshman. He's got a long ways to go, but he's going to be tough next year. We'll see how he does in the next match. Could be an off day too. You never know. All right, so then the main event, Younger Bastida taking on Ben Keeter. I had this one, called this one as well. I figured Bastida was going to get decision. Did I say decision or major? I said decision, right? Decision, yeah. I called it a decision. Um, and it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, though, because I was saying decision because I'm an Iowa fan, but I was thinking Bastida could major him. Now, granted, Bastida did have an injured leg, and I don't, you know what? The injured leg thing, I don't, everybody says it, and people act like they're just being kind by saying, oh, you shouldn't come up with injuries. But I've been in competition before where I was injured and I felt like it caused me a victory, but I've also been in competitions where I was injured and I end up winning. So you can't really blame the injury. I was at a competition one time where I had a bad elbow injury. I could barely close my left hand and I ended up winning the whole thing. So that's why people say you can't give the excuse of the injury. I mean, Bastila still got the victory. He looked a little tired. Now, granted, this was his first match out, so obviously you're gonna be tired your first time. Keto looked big. I don't know what he weighed in at, but he looks like he's getting bigger. I think last time he weighed in 227, maybe 230 something. Last year he was only coming in about 219 ish. So he's getting bigger. So he's got 10 pounds on him. He probably I would say he came in about 235. I have to look back at what the weigh-ins were, but He looked big. He looked strong. Bastida got the takedown on him. A couple takedowns, I think. But Keto looks like he's going to get better. He almost cradled up Bastida. It was an interesting match. There was one time where I thought that he was going to get that cradle, and they blew the whistle, but his foot was still inside. I'm not sure what was going on there, but sometimes the referees they're not looking at everything, so it can kind of throw you off. But that was a wrap up right there. So the final score 21-15. I had it 19-15. I was close. You can't anticipate some of the stuff that Tom Brand's going to throw out there, but I was as close as you can be. I'm only off by 2 points. But that's my breakdown of the match. There was also some UFC stuff going on. Not a big UFC fan. We don't have our boy Julian here to break down the UFC stuff. That's mainly his thing. I know there was the main event was it was Davison Figueiredo and oh yeah, Peter Yan, the Russian guy. That was a decent fight. I mean, I think I thought it was a decent fight. I thought it might have been fight of the night, but Dana White didn't give a fight of the night thing, so I don't think Dana White was appreciating that fight too much. Yan was landing, he was hitting him pretty hard, but Figueroa said that he came back fifth round too, so decent card, I guess, for a fight night. I mean, he coming off of the Big Jones card, so everything's going to seem downhill from there. Well, that's a breakdown with the fights. A lot of wrestling going on. I can't break them all down, so we'll try to get the biggest ones out there. You could check. That's it for the fights. Let's get into some current events. What do we have? What's our first story? The Dems voted to defy deportation plans. I guess play the video. Okay. Oh, they're talking about the Laken Riley case, where I think it was a Venezuelan migrant that killed her. Just a murderer. Oh yeah, and then children are crossing the border and they're not being accounted for. They're just being sent off. The Javier Becerra. So he's saying there's a number of incidences. There's more than one. He should be more concerned about that if there's more than just the one the guy's mentioning. Doesn't remember that one particular specifically. Jacksonville, Florida. Oh my goodness, it's our hometown. Um, okay, well, it's a bit disturbing. I don't understand what's going on. Really, I'm confused. We have all of the illegal migrants coming over, migrants, illegal aliens, whatever you want to call them, and I don't get what the Democrats are fighting for. Donald Trump is pretty liberal on this. He wants to have immigration. We need immigration in the country, but you have to go through a process. I don't even get what the argument is. I'm completely confused about the argument because everywhere you go, you have to register, you have to get vetted, you have to have ID. You don't just go into places, and it's the same thing with a country. Actually, a country should be even more strict. I just don't get what the Democrats' argument is on this. I am confused as to what they're fighting against. We're just trying to have a secure border, and people that want to come into the country just go through the legal process. I'm an immigrant. My parents came through the legal process, and there are people from my country that didn't want to wait because you have to wait. You have to wait. If I want to go over to somebody's house, I don't just show up when I want to. I wait for their permission, and I go and I knock at the door, and they let me in. Um, but there's people even from my country that did not want to wait the process, and they just come over, illegal ways over here. And then I mean, it could only go one way. If you're not tracking what's going on, there's going to be criminal activity. So if you want to stop the criminal activity, you're going to need to have some kind of reinforcement of the border, and you also have to be able to vet these people to see who's coming in here. Who are these kids? Where are their parents? Why are they coming alone? I mean, what parent's going to send some 10, 12-year-old kid to go and then live with a supposed aunt or uncle? It doesn't make any sense. But let's move on to the next story. Okay, what's our second story? Oh, it's going into the murder of Laken Riley. Okay. Hmm. Okay. The death penalty's off. Is it because he's illegal? That's why they can't do the death penalty. I think I don't think they could do a death penalty if the country where they come from doesn't have the death penalty. I think I heard that somewhere. They probably have to fact check me on that one. Somebody out there. But I think Venezuelans don't have the death penalty, so that way we can't administer the death penalty here in the U.S. because he's not a U.S. citizen. This is a dangerous guy. I don't know too much about the story, and I think she was a nursing student. She was just out for a jog, and they didn't know each other, right? They had no. I don't think they didn't know each other at all. So this guy just found someone and killed her. Oh, took a oh. I think we should stop the video. Stop the video. That's crazy. That's uh that's insane. That's an insane person. Again, that goes with the vetting process. I understand that them say this is not the majority of people and Americans commit more crimes than illegals. I understand what they say, but the problem is they shouldn't they shouldn't be here without some kind of documentation. Um, because a person is going to do something like that is not your regular walking around person. That is a very dangerous human being. Everybody has that animalistic instinct in them, right? If somebody attacks you, you're going to fight back. You want to preserve your life, but for you to be just attacking somebody for no reason and just kill them, there was no motive. They had no relationship. There was nothing there. That's a very dangerous human being. They should be able to figure that out at the border. This guy probably had a criminal record. He's probably part of a gang. This is not a regular walking around person. And that's the Republican argument. It doesn't matter if you say the majority of crimes were committed by U.S. citizens. The other people shouldn't be here. It's just, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. Sure, we want immigrants. I'm an immigrant. I said it before, but you have to go through the process. You don't just let everybody into your house. If you're throwing a party, usually your friend brings a friend that you kind of know. If a bunch of strangers show up, they don't have any loyalty to you. Just like the people that just show up, they don't have any loyalty to the country. So it's not a good situation. What do we have next? All right, so we have what's the next article? Okay, this is Trump's CDC pick, is it? CDC pick. Okay. The vaccine data. Okay, so he wants to look at the vaccine data. Okay, so he's basically rehashing the vaccine stuff. Um, I don't know how history is gonna reflect on this. Um, Probably not gonna cover too much about it here because this could be a whole 2 hour subject. But this is one of the biggest atrocities in the history of medicine, in the history of the world, basically. A lot of people ran around having a lot of faith in the medical community, which is fine, but they're not infallible. They're not infallible. And when they put things out and don't subject themselves to scrutiny, it's going to be corrupt. There's only one way it can go. It's going to be corrupt. And that's exactly what happened. I don't know if people remember, there was a time in history where they used to they used to shock people that had certain conditions because they thought that was curing their maybe epilepsy, things like that. I have to look into that, but I know they had shock therapy, which was in the medical journals, and they also did lobotomies. They used to just take a pick and insert it into your brain to scramble parts of your brain and made you a nicer person because you destroyed parts of people's brains. This was all medical science. So science is not infallible. It's not a solid doctrine that we have to follow. It's it's ever evolving, which is kind of a double-edged sword because then people go into saying that you can never trust science because it could change. Certain things are concrete, but the problem is you have to let people ask questions. You have to let people discuss things. And just like the guy was saying, he was saying sunlight in a literal sense, but there's also a figurative sense that the best cure is sunlight, and the best way to hash out bad ideas is to shine lights to shine a light on them. And what happened is that nobody else were able to disagree or even come up with anything against what the medical community was putting out, and it just became too corrupt. I don't even think it's a money thing. I don't think these people need money. I think it was a power thing. It was a don't question me, I'm the expert. And what happens when you get people in that state, they tend to just dig their heels in on whatever idea they had. They just never want to. They don't want to go back, and now everybody's stuck. They're stuck. They've lied so much. It's to make fun of men. The old adage that the guy always knows where he's driving. He takes a wrong turn, and somebody's like, "Oh, I think you took a wrong turn," and he's too proud to admit it. Say, no, 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 I didn't say. I meant to go this way, and then you'll see he'll take a right turn, another right turn, another right. Pretty much go around a circle just to get back on the path that just so he wouldn't have to admit he was wrong. I think that's what the medical community is doing right now, but they haven't done that U-turn yet. They're not on the right path. They're still digging in. They took the wrong turn and they're like, we meant to do this. This was supposed to happen. So hopefully the new CDC guy, he seems to be level-headed. I wouldn't hold my breath. I think the government is you know what? That's the end of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we'll see you next time after Thanksgiving. Have a good Thanksgiving out there. That's eyes wide open. We're out. Well.